I study horses. Beauty matched only bothers.
All 4 feet are always telling the same story. And if they don't look like they're telling the same story based on our interpretation, that only means that 1, we don't understand it yet, and 2, it probably has a different origin. For me, that usually means the origin of whatever we're dealing with. If I can't see the proportional relationships in the feet or how to get there, it's usually coming from somewhere higher up in the body. And when any particular imbalance is coming from the body or higher up in the body, it doesn't mean that it's not our problem. It just means we have to figure out how to support it best and work with our team to develop the plan. But the important part here is that everything's always telling the same story. And you got to learn what that is. So everything we do should also be telling the same story. Good job, bud. Most imbalances work in diagonal pairs. Which is kind of cool to know because front and hind pairs often reflect each other in mirror images, but diagonal pairs often reflect each other in imbalances. I'm really curious what experience you guys have had with that. So leave it in the comments and hit subscribe and like. Okay. In theory, this is his high hind foot. So it should be higher angled and narrower. Rocker toe. My rocker toe is, in theory, supposed to start right ahead of the coffin bone. So the proportional relationships aren't just on the outside. The proportional relationships are for the inside. Around the coffin joint, around the navicular joint or bone. Oh, buddy, I gotcha. You know, another aspect of developing a conscious plan around proportional relationships is coming back in 6 weeks and seeing what's changed. How are the relationships now? As a way of confirming or denying the validity of what you've done. So this foot has all the proportional relationships that a high foot would normally. It's slightly narrower, slightly higher in angle. But interestingly, it's slightly bigger in perimeter, which the other diagonal front foot was also. Okay, Delano, 56 degrees. Relationship from the apex of the frog forward. Looks good. Perimeter, 14 1/2 for both hinds. Width 4 5/8 plus. And there's no need to take out a bunch of this sole, just a tiny bit to add to the concavity in the bars, but at least in our environment, the bars are a part of the hoof wall and they add strength to the rear of the foot, and that's where we need it the most. So it stays in. So sometimes if there's a question about any kind of balance, you know, we're always shoeing and trimming for dynamic balance, but we're looking at a static horse. So I'm going to have Delano walk him for me so I can evaluate what I've done so far and make any changes I need to make. Now, because I haven't over trimmed, I'm able to make changes if I need to. Great, perfect. And I do see changes to make here, so whenever there's a question, just move them out and see how it looks, if you can. So when Delano walked him out, what I saw was that his hind end was tipped to the right. High lateral left, high medial right is what it looked like. So I'm going to take a little bit more off of those areas, and then we'll put shoes on and see how it goes. Interestingly, that's been his pattern. So it doesn't scare me to make those changes. I just want to make sure I got them if they were there to get. It's important to, if you see them, make those small changes now if you're not going to hurt anything else. Because, as you know, in shoeing, you get them as close as you can at the particular time of shoeing, but then over the course of the cycle, they grow out imbalanced. It's inevitable. We can't make them grow balanced 100% perfect. So I got to see and do what I can within the confines of not making him sore to get him as perfect as I can, knowing that I'll never get him perfect and that he's going to grow out imperfectly between now and the next time. Actually, Delano, let's walk him out one more time, okay? Okay, great. I constantly have to remind myself it's never going to be perfect, and always do a little less than I think I should, because it's easy, I think, for all of us to stay and trim and trim and trim to try to get it perfect. A little bit here, a little bit there. And pretty soon we end up with nothing left. So it's important to stop at some point and just move on. All right, we take notes on our iPad here, and we can look back at what our previous notes were for however long we want. We have a huge database of all our entries. We have thousands and thousands of entries now showing the most common relationships and things of that nature. It's important for us as shoers to develop that history. And for me, I write it down so that I remember and don't distort it in my mind. And I have an objective point of view to reference. And it's important for you to remember that as farriers, we're kind of the front lines of advocating for these horses, because we see things, we feel things that the other professionals, the other team members may not. Because we have a very different perspective on the whole thing from the bottom up. So use that power and make a written history for your horse, and advocate when you see a problem with that history to your owners, your trainers, and start becoming a real active, proactive member of your team. Austin's ready to be done. All right, we went through some of the superficial or some of the proportional relationships that we work with in our normal course of everyday shoeing. And we've achieved all those goals in this trim. With the hinds are slightly longer than the fronts by 1/8 of an inch. The size is a 1/2 an inch smaller behind. The angles are 2 degrees steeper behind. The HPA is pretty good. There's a normal size for a horse his size, a normal toe length for a horse his size. haven't trimmed into the sensitive tissue or even the live sole. Plenty to burn. Nice concavity. Good heel structure. We have strength, integrity, volume, mass. And the trainer reports that he's going pretty well. These are all the things we try to achieve either at the time of any particular shoeing or over the course of successive shoeings if we're deficient in any one of those areas. So, and of course we always rely on our team and feedback from the owner and the trainer to really assess dynamic balance, because we ultimately don't know that, and we can read it in the feet, but the owners and the trainers will give us amazing feedback if we know what questions to ask and how to listen. It helps us move toward a more comfortable horse and a better proportional relationship.
I study horses, beauty matched only by their strength. I try and capture a little of that as I move on without your face. I study horses, my picture